Okay, Dennis, why don't we get started?
Good afternoon. I'm Dennis Gundlach. Welcome to the 499th Imagine Greater Buffalo program and our 121st virtual program, hosted by the downtown cultural treasure, our Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. We're so glad you've joined us today. This program is created by the Center for the Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature, or C-SAAHN as I pronounce the acronym, and ImagineLifelongLearning.com. Before we get started, just a little housekeeping. Everyone watching will be muted and your video turned off. If you have a question or comment, please type it into the chat box and we'll go through them at the end of the presentation. We are recording this program so you can watch it again later on the Downtown Central Library's Facebook page and YouTube channels, and we certainly hope you share the link with others. Now, first, we'll give you a little bio of our featured speaker, Joe Martin Lin-Hill, and that will be followed by an award presentation. Every year, we give to usually individuals, but last year and again this year, to groups of people, if you will. So we'll get to that presentation after the end, but let's hear about our featured speaker, Dr. Joe Martin Lin-Hill. Now, he served as Deputy Director of the Buffalo AKG Art Museum beginning in 2013, steering strategic planning efforts, economic impact research, diversity and inclusion objectives, and championing a variety of initiatives such as public art, the Innovation Lab, and performing arts programming. He also provides oversight to the Preservation and Safety Department. Dr. Lin-Hill organized a number of major exhibitions at the Albright, including Screenplay, Life in an Animated World, and Robert, Indiana, a sculpture retrospective, as well as exhibitions throughout Western New York community with collaborating organizations such as Art Heals in 2018 with Roswell Park, and Lenses, Ways of Seeing Buffalo and its Architecture in 2021 with Preservation Buffalo Niagara. The Buffalo AKG Art Museum, formerly the Albright Knox Art Gallery, is scheduled to reopen in June, mid-June, following an extensive expansion project. The museum has been closed since late 2019. Dr. Lin-Hill is here today to discuss the construction and expansion and the vision, as well as what to expect when the museum reopens. Now, as I stated, it's time to present our IGB Recognition Award. This is done with Imagine Greater Buffalo jointly with the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. And for that, I'm going to hand over some comments from John Spears, the director of the library.
Thank you, Dennis, and thank you for being here today, Joe. I want to start off just by acknowledging that our two organizations actually share a history. And way back in the 1880s, the predecessor to Albright Knox was the Buffalo Fine Arts Academy that actually got its start in terms of displaying art for the public at the original Buffalo Library, which had been built by the Young Men's Association. There's so many ties between all of the cultural organizations in this community. And I want to just talk for a second about what I've seen since coming here in the past year and what I've seen, especially from you. One of the first things that I got involved with when I came as the new director was a group of leaders of cultural institutions that at the time was meeting actually every 2 weeks. Now we meet monthly. But it was a real inspiration to meet the other heads of cultural institutions. And I think I actually told you this last week. There was one that was extremely special, that was just one of the most intriguing people that I've ever met in my life, and that was you. You have brought so much to this community. That's obvious. And last week, I had the privilege of actually of being in Common Sky, which is a new part of Albright Knox Gundlach. I think I got that right, and I apologize if I didn't. But it was an incredible experience because it was a true blending of both a piece of architecture and a piece of artwork in one that is just an absolutely stunning experience for anyone to have. You've made an incredible difference, but I know that you would want it to actually be not just about you, and it isn't. It's about your team. It's about the entire group at the Albright Knox Gundlach that has created an incredible gift to the community that is going to outlive us all. So congratulations to you, and congratulations to the entire leadership team of AKG for just doing one of the most momentous things that has happened in this city's history in a long time. Thank you.
I will just add to that we've given this award out every year since 2009 when we started the Imagine program. 4 of the recipients are no longer with us. Charles Rand Penny came just before he died in 2010. Stan Lipsey received the award, Robert Cressy, and just a few weeks ago, Joan Bozer, who received the award in 2014, passed. So these are great names, and it's the leadership team now that in whole that is added to this list. Going forward, we always read the names off and duly record them one way or the other once a year for this award. So Joe, we're looking forward to your presentation. Why don't you begin? We're going to take have a little longer program because of this, and then we're going to be fielding questions, which I know you want to hear from the community at the end. So Joe, take it away.
Well, thank you so much. It's really quite an honor to be here. Dennis, thank you for your kind introduction, and John for your very thoughtful comments. My goal in Buffalo has been to contribute whatever I could, and I've worked with an extraordinary team at the Buffalo AKG for the last 10 years, and we couldn't be happier to accept this award on behalf of the entire leadership team at the Buffalo AKG. It is an extraordinary project, and I'm going to talk to you today about many essential transformations. Before I begin this presentation, though, let me thank my dear colleague, my friend Caroline Gerwitz, for her work helping prepare this presentation and researching, amongst others, on the AKG team, some of the details that you'll see today. So, essential transformations. Let me make sure that this is moving forward. I am screen sharing. Okay, this is where we began. You're seeing an aerial shot of the campus that the present administration, led by Yanis Suren, inherited in 2013. And you'll be familiar with all of the parts of this campus, I'm sure. In the upper left of the present image, you see our Clifton Hall, which is now our executive offices, the 1962 addition by Gordon Bunshaft, the original 1905 building by E.B. Green, and you'll note the parking lot on the upper right-hand side of this image. So this is what we inherited in 2013. And just before we were opening this presentation, Dennis was asking, the idea of the building project must have been with you all along. Well, in fact, it was in 2001 that the Buffalo AKG, then the Albright Knox Art Gallery, first committed to the idea of a building project in a strategic plan, the first strategic plan of the organization, again from 2001, again reiterated in 2010. And in fact, it was Yanni's mission in coming here one that he's realized very brilliantly, to build an expansion. We didn't know what it was going to be at the time, but that was the principal goal of the organization during our administration. We had inherited in 2013 a plan from the architectural firm Snøhetta for a campus master plan design, but we decided to take a look around the entire community to find out what the community really wanted from its museum. This is a community project, and it's for the community's benefit. As John rightly said, this will outlast us all, and it needs to be what the community wants. Some of you may remember in the fall of 2014, our community outreach, where we asked people various questions and worked with them on tables and on these posters where you could put red dots according to your wishes for the future. And those community meetings really influenced what the building project would become. And ultimately, there was the idea of AK 360. 360 because we were taking a 360-degree view look at our community and asking for input as to what the new museum should be. It was also, this is our third building project in our history, and they happen about every 60 years. So this term coined by Janne, AK 360, was particularly apt for the building project that we were then in the process of conceiving. By 2016, we had announced OMA as our partner for the architectural project. We didn't have a design. We had a project that we wanted to do, and OMA was announced as our architectural partner in 2016 in June. It was about that time also that Jeffrey Gundlach stepped forward with an absolutely transformative gift. We're talking about essential transformations in this talk, and certainly Jeffrey Gundlach's gift to us, a very clever matching challenge grant, allowed us to propel the campaign forward, and the team raised in 12 weeks more than $100 million. This was truly transformative, and without Jeffrey Gundlach's support, we wouldn't certainly be where we are today. But we again reached out to the community to find out again what the community wanted to do. What did they, now that we had some money in hand, and now that we had an architectural team to work with, why not ask the community to communicate directly with that architectural team? So here you see on the left, Shohei Shigematsu listening to one of our patrons talking about the ground plan for the Buffalo AKG. And to the right, there are a variety of other team members assembled around a table, and shout out to Dennis. You were there right between Jillian Jones, whose back you see, and Russell Davidson, the former head of our innovation lab. On the other side of the table, you see Laura Baird from OMA, and I believe I have to move this over to see who's talking. I think it's Eleanor Ash, another of our beloved docents, who've played a great role in the community discussion around this project. And there's Mary Roberts as well. So this really has been a community effort all along the way. Right, okay. You may remember from this another picture showing other OMA team members with AK staff members and other members of the community. We had the opportunity to play with blocks of volume, trying to decide with the community's input where things should go, what would the most elegant solutions be to achieve the needs that had been determined in part by the community, but also by the operating needs of the Albright Knox. You'll remember we needed a loading dock. We wanted to have 25,000 more square feet to double our square footage for exhibition space, because we have one of the world's greatest collections of modern and contemporary art, and it belongs to you. And that's why we were engaging the community all along the way to decide what we should be building with OMA's help. While all this was happening, and Dennis mentioned it earlier, we launched a renewed strategic plan, a lengthy process in 2015 that culminated with our strategic plan 2016 to 2026. And there are 4 pillars to this plan. exceptional collections and exhibitions for which the Albright Knox and now the Buffalo AKG has and will always be known. Engaging communities already in what we were doing, central to the goals that we would pursue in the building project itself. The building project, then called AK360, a real vessel for connecting art, ideas, and people, and institutional vigor, which is about maintaining the health and the vitality of the organization for generations to come. And this plan is a living document that we continue to go back to, that the team continues to go back to, and it guides our work moving forward. It was revised in another extensive process in 2021 through 2022. And you see similar contents with the strategic priorities still in place. In the future, of course, with our next strategic plan, strategic priority 3, the construction of the Buffalo AKG Art Museum, will have been wholly accomplished. But we will still have the other 3 pillars as part of our vision and our forward march. Also at this time, we launched, I'm talking early on, going back to the early days, a public art initiative. And this too was an idea of Janne's. He had previously served in Finland and was there in charge in Helsinki for public art as well as museum spaces. So the idea of public art was imported, and it was a wonderful import because we've been able to reach out to so many different communities that way and partner with so many different entities. And that's really what the new Buffalo AKG is all about. Engaging with communities, partnerships, collaborations, that is really central to the new museum that I hope you'll all be enjoying. And I hope you'll see that in the operations of the new museum. In any event, what you see here, actually what you should see here is one of our earliest public art projects that was with the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. Now that I'm thinking of it, a tape art project which covered part of the exterior of the building. So the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library was one of our early cultural collaboration partners. Here you see June Kaneko's sculptures installed at the Darwin Martin House, a more recent project, and another project by Sarah Brayman, which was installed at Frank Lloyd Wright Graycliff Estate just this past summer. And of course, it allowed us to collaborate not only with cultural entities, but also with others, like our partnership with Erie County Harbor Development Corporation when we installed Indiana's monumental 8-foot Corten steel numbers series at Wilkinson Point on Buffalo's Outer Harbor. That was at the time of the exhibition that Dennis mentioned that I curated of Robert, Indiana. And our goal has really been to engage the outside world while we're also engaging folks at the site of the museum. And the opportunity to move back and forth between the public sphere and the interior of the building is something that I think you'll see differently in the architectural slides that I'm going to show you momentarily. Of course, any discussion of our public art initiative wouldn't be complete without discussion of the Freedom Wall, an extraordinary project of 2017 with John Baker, Julia Bottoms, Chuck Tungley, and Idris Wajed. This was a really wonderful partnership with the Niagara Frontier Transportation Authority, the NFTA. And I should say, if you visit the site today, it's much more beautiful now due to continued interest by the community in the site and the continued investment of the Buffalo AKG as well as the NFTA in making sure that it's a site for generations to come. Here are the artists at work, Idris in the upper level, Julia Bottoms looking at one of her portraits, and Chuck working on one of his. And these 4 artists, local artists, really made an extraordinary contribution. This is one of the most interesting and community-centric public art projects that I've come across in recent years. And I know we're all at the Albright Knox, now the Buffalo AKG, very proud of the work we did at this time and that we facilitated these artists' visions and the community's vision once again. Here's the Freedom Wall in action, and thanks to Idris for these pictures. This is really what the Freedom Wall was all about. It's about engaging in the history of this place, engaging in community dialogue around our history and our possible futures in ways that we can take action today to make the world, our world, a better place. We all have that responsibility. Of course, there did come the time of closure on the Elmwood Avenue campus, but rather than shutting down our operations, as some museums have and as we might have, instead we decided to more directly engage and expand our community engagement efforts. Here you see our art truck. The art truck will be back out on the road soon if it's not already this spring. This was one of the main ways that we could, while we closed down, continue to make sure that we were bringing the joy of art and the transformations that it makes possible to the broader community. Here's another example of the art truck in action. But of course, our biggest community engagement initiative during this time was, of course, AK Northland. And here you see the first exhibition that we housed at Albright Knox Northland, Open House Domestic Thresholds, with work by Heather Hart, Ed Risotto, and Rodney Taylor. A picture at the right is from the opening of that extraordinary event. And our commitment to AK Northland, it wasn't just the opportunity to continue to do what we always did. It was an opportunity to do things anew with communities that had been perhaps left out in the past, that we hadn't made such an overt address towards to welcome in. Our work there concluded with the In These Truths show, which was a multi-generational display of work by Black artists, regional artists, and local artists, paired with nationally known figures. And there was an extraordinary amount of programming around In These Truths that the public art team and outside curators, including Adrice, put together. And this was really, I think, a definitive exhibition in the life of the institution in terms of reflecting the new Buffalo AKG that we want you all to experience very soon. Now I'm going to move on to the building project with that background in mind. We have entirely revitalized the Seymour Knox Jr. building, and this is a ground plan. It's an old ground plan, not necessarily up to date, but it gives you a sense of some of the things I'm going to be talking about. The new vestibule at the bottom, in that dark gray shade, the indoor town square, we call it now, at the center of that ground plan. The gallery at left, which is flanked by education classrooms. All of this has come to pass. And we're deeply proud of all of the work that we've done to make this possible as a new kind of space for Western New York. Here is the Ralph C. Wilson Town Square with Common Sky, the work previously mentioned by John. You'll see pictures of that in a moment. But this is, of course, a rendering of what the town square was supposed to look like, okay? Here is the new entry on the east side of the town square, the east side of the Knox building, from an exterior picture and then showing you inside the town square as it's built today. And just to say, the renderings are always, of architects, always make things look wonderful. And it's extraordinary and wonderful when things look just as great when they're actually built. And this is a monumental achievement, an extraordinary engineering feat that is now at the center of the Buffalo AKG's identity. And here is there you see John standing there listening to someone speak. I think that's my assistant Caroline, at an event just last week. And it's a wonderful space to be in. And I'm very, very happy to report that the acoustics work, the HVAC systems work. It is going to be a space you will all enjoy. It's just an extraordinarily wonderful space. This is the gallery space. That's the space now to the left. If you look at the ground plan to the left at the largest square at the bottom of that ground plan. And I am showing you renderings here, but the renderings look like what it's looking like. It's really remarkable. And I know you're all going to love it. This is we wanted to make sure that the gallery space would be at the heart, would remain at the heart of the Knox building expansion from 1962, originally used as exhibition space. And because exhibition is so much the DNA of what museums do, and certainly what the Albright Knox does, we wanted to make sure that for the Buffalo AKG, that our new Learning and Creativity wing had at its core an exhibition space. Here is one of the revitalized classrooms in the Buffalo AKG in that dedicated Learning and Creativity wing. Again, it's a rendering. This is what it looked like last month, but I can assure you on my recent visits, things are cleaned up, it's almost ready to go, and you're really going to love the new spaces that are dedicated to education activities. I should mention also that our work with community partners will be extended as education and as a variety of different kinds of partners will be utilizing these spaces as part of their programming, which is our way of opening up to the community all that this AK360 project and the new Buffalo AKG Museum is and what it can do for the community at large. This is not a rendering. This is another one of those extraordinary feats where the renderings of the John J. Albright Bridge, which connects the 1905 building at right, the Wilmers building, and the new Gundlach building at left, the renderings were always so beautiful. And so is the actual outcome of this extraordinary bridge that winds around these historic trees and provides a vista of nature as we move from one space to the next. Here it is at night, and you can see again, just to the left of the bridge there, Jamais Plaince's wonderful Laura, once again illuminated in the night sky. And here's what the Gundlach building looks like, an illuminated lantern in the night. And here in the day, to the right here is a view looking towards Buff State's Rockwell Hall. This is on the second floor around the sculpture terrace. And of course, the parking lot, which is a very, very expensive parking lot. But again, this is what the community asked for. Don't take up more space, take up less if you possibly can. And we love our parks and we want more of our parks. So the parking lot is underground. And now my internet, it's telling me my internet connection is unstable. So I'm hoping that you're getting what I'm saying. But this is a view from the third floor of the Gundlach building, looking down on the buried parking garage, which will be returned to green space very, very soon. So here's where we came from. And here's where things were a few weeks ago, as this various machinery scrambles around all of the buildings to make them wonderful for Western New York. There you see Common Sky, of course, with the new vestibule at the bottom of the image on the east side of the 1962 Knox building. So a few more just key facts along the way. When we began in 2013, our budget was $7.3 million. When we reopen, our budget for next year looks like it's going to be $17.2 million. We had approximately 70 staff in 2013. At the height of our operations before closing down, we were at about 114, and there will be more than 140 when we reopen. Our visitation has grown, and we expect it to grow much more substantially upon reopening. We're looking for at least 200,000 visitors in the next year, and we hope you will be among them. So I'm wrapping up here. Please visit. We have new operating hours, closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, open 10 to 5 Mondays, Saturdays, and Sundays, late on Thursdays and Fridays. Please visit our new Cornelia Cafe with an extraordinary new mosaic artwork by Firle Baez, one of the several commissions, including Common Sky, for the new building project. And as you visit, please do consider becoming a member of this museum. The Buffalo AKG is your museum from the start. I hope that we have been solicitous of everyone in Western New York's views. That has been the goal. This museum really is for you, and I thank you on behalf of the leadership team for all you have done to make this wonderful and extraordinary transformation possible. Thanks so much.
Joe, thank you for accepting the award, representing the entire leadership team, and giving us a great overview of your journey and the community's journey. I'll mention as we see what types of questions we have, but maybe just comment on the existing new website that the Buffalo AKG Art Museum has. I find it very, very comprehensive. Folks will be spending a lot of time on that between now and the actual opening in September, I trust, becoming very familiar with much of what is inside the gallery. Could you comment? Joe?
Yes, thank you so much for unmuting me. I was trying to do that myself. Yeah, the website is wonderful. And let me just go back, since I'm still sharing the screen. I can go back to the last slide, which gives you our website address. My computer's not being responsive. It's buffaloakg.org. We're opening on June 15th. You can get your tickets there, but the website has really rich materials about the history of the Buffalo AKG, the history of the building project, all of the things that I've talked about today. Our strategic plan is there. Our past annual reports are there. And of course, the wonderful, wonderful collection, which is the lifeblood of the Buffalo AKG, past exhibitions. You'll find all the information that you could possibly want there and be able to consider membership, sign up for specific ticketed slots for our openings. And yeah, it's got a totally new look. It's not a completely revamped website. It's just this branding that you see today, the Buffalo AKG's branding, was a gargantuan project unto itself. Another of the essential transformations that we might have focused on that took many years, and outside consultants ably managed by our head of publications, Pam Hatley, a wonderful colleague, over a very long time. That too has been applied to the website, giving it a fresh new look, which is, you know, hopefully all of you will find that the Buffalo AKG has a fresh new look and feel when you're there.
Great. Melissa, how are we doing for comments and questions?
We have a whole bunch of questions, so why don't we just get right into them? First question, is there still going to be the free First Fridays? And how about events like rocking at the Knox?
There will be free First Fridays. Not only that, the entirety of the new Ralph C. Wilson Junior Town Square, the education classroom spaces, the 1962 building itself is free all the time. So we're actually expanding our welcome, we hope, to the community with free access, at least to that part, with that central gallery all the time. First Fridays will continue. The parking lot is built to withstand rocking at the Knox. So we will see. There may be a rocking in the Knox at the Knox in the future, and I hope that's the case. We did engineer that space, the green space, the park space that you will soon see, to withstand crowds of 5,000 people. So,
could you talk about what the advantages of becoming a member are?
Well, for the first time in 20 years, we did increase our membership fees, but what you get, I mean, you get free access all the time. That's a wonderful thing. There are discounts. The advancement team, what you can do is go to the Buffalo AKG to membership, and you'll get a list of all of the discounts and all of the perks that you get at different levels for membership. The best one of them, though, is that you can come and go freely in the museum whenever you want. And the programming we're going to have is, I'm sure, going to make all of us want to return again and again. Plus which, it is true, our budget has grown very, very substantially, and you are supporting your museum with your membership and becoming more integral to the life of the museum.
Do you expect the public art projects such as the murals on the outsides of buildings to continue once the museum reopens?
Yes, yes, I do. I think that it's worth pointing out here that there are many, many organizations now doing murals throughout Western New York. There are many, many well-trained, wonderful artists doing murals that are not sponsored by the Buffalo AKG or our public art initiative. It's a great honor to have, and certainly again, kudos to Yane. It's a great honor to have helped propel that forward. But we're certainly not the only ones doing murals. And I think that our public art project will continue in the future.
Someone said the museum hours show being closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
That is correct.
Do you expect that to change in the fall for schools to attend?
No, we do not. We will be closed Tuesdays and Wednesdays for the foreseeable future. And part of the reason for this is a project like this is such a magnet for destination tourism. And amongst many of our partners, the state and local government, as well as Visit Buffalo Niagara, there's an opportunity to capture weekend visitation and talk more about what all is going on in Buffalo, not just the Buffalo AKG, but others as well. So we're hoping that we attract a substantial long weekend tourist audience. It's also necessary as we learn to operate this new building to have a little bit more time of closure to prepare once again for a substantially larger visitation in a building that we don't yet know well. So for the foreseeable future, we're working towards these, we will be hard at work on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, don't fear. The goal is to make sure that the experience Wednesdays through Mondays is as great as it can be for the greatest audience possible.
You touched on tourism a little bit there. Someone asked, how will the AKG attract new visitors from outside of Western New York?
Can you repeat that question again? My internet was faulty for a second.
How will the AKG attract new visitors from elsewhere?
Okay. The goal of a project like this is really rooted in serving the community, but it also is a wonderful sort of beacon for Buffalo and for Western New York in the international press. We've had a lot of great coverage in the New York Times, in architectural press, in a wide variety of outlets are talking about the reopening of the Buffalo AKG as one of the very important museum openings around the world this year. That helps us draw destination tourists in, and with our partners at Visit Buffalo Niagara and other entities, there are marketing campaigns that are put forth in other markets. Hopefully the Toronto market will be coming down to experience all that Buffalo has to offer for visitors over a weekend or more.
And then perhaps maybe just one more question here. Given your familiarity with the entire campus, what are some of the transformational new vantage points that visitors will experience at the new/old buildings?
Right. The 1905 building is experientially totally different with a wooden floor. That is fully installed now and looks absolutely beautiful. It's just miraculous. And a big shout out to Holly Hughes, the senior curator, the Golden Spalding senior curator for the collections, for her wonderful, wonderful work, and to our wonderful facilities team and art prep team for making that look so beautiful. Vistas from the outside there are essentially what they were previously. Now, the minute you get into the 1962 building, the Knox building, it's extraordinary to look through the roof that is Common Sky, this wonderful artwork, and see reflected in kaleidoscopic form the auditorium of the 1962 building and the wonderful column facade of the 1905 building. In the Gundlach building, it's really a total transformation. There isn't anything like the third floor view. You can see all the way down to City Hall from the third floor exhibition galleries of the Gundlach building. And on the other side of that same floor, you're able to look out at the History Museum. There's a wonderful Juliet balcony within the structure that looks out to the History Museum. And that's important because it's a link to the past. Remember, when the 1905 building came online, it was supposed to have come online in 1901 for the Pan American Exhibition. And that is the only remaining structure, the History Museum, a beautiful, beautiful structure. That's the only structure that really remains from that 1901 Pan American Exhibition. So looking back to the past was an important part of building for the future. Around the second floor sculpture terrace with a 360-degree walk around, you'll be able to look at Hoyt Lake on the east, to Rockwell Hall at the right, and the Richardson Center. The vistas are best looking south from the Gundlach building, where you can see all the wonderful work we did that you won't otherwise be able to see on the roof of the 1905 building, making sure that it no longer leaks and is fully restored. So I recommend that view very highly. You got a picture of that late in the presentation.
Thank you. Those were the questions. So Dennis, back to you.
All right, I see any others. Jerry Mead is on. Could you just open up his audio? And I'll ask Jerry, who I saw Thursday night, if he has anything to add to this. He's a major contributor of his artwork to the Buffalo AKG Art Museum. Jerry?
Yeah, thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Joe. I'll confess that was my question. I was curious to hear Joe's take on what those new vantage points are, and you really gave that a lot of depth. That was as I said, you kind of nailed it in terms of those spaces that people are going to see that again that did not exist before. And truly, I appreciate the fact that you used transformational to describe what your discussion was going to be, because truly that's the case. So thank you.
While you're on, Jerry, let me just thank you for your recent Cindy Sherman donations, for your wonderful support of all the museums in the area, the Birchfield, the Castellani, of course, the Buffalo AKG, and for all you do for the community too. This is a community project. We all have our role to play, and it's, again, I'm wonderfully touched and so grateful on behalf of the leadership team for today's award. And it's really been a privilege to serve you all.
Joe, that'll wrap it up. Thank you, Jerry, for your comments. And thank you, folks, for supporting this program. And I'm pleased that the very, very busy folks at the Buffalo AKG Art Museum would take the time to bring us up to date. It's going to be a very busy period in Buffalo's history that we can look forward to in our immediate future here in the next month or so. So thank you for joining us today. We'll see you back here on Zoom next Tuesday when we're joined by Scott Scanlon of the Buffalo News, who will discuss how to move up the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation New York State County rankings. Erie County, Niagara, Chautauqua seem to rank low year after year. We're doing our best here to at least point to that and see what we can do to, with all the facilities we have, medical centers, schools of medicine, and good people that want to do the right thing, how we can start to move up that ranking. So join us and we'll discuss that further next week. I'm Dennis Galecki. Be well and good day.